Yep.
so that you can.
Thank you. My name is John Kiru, and I'm the Executive Director of the Toronto Association of BIAs. You may recognize BIAs as the Beach, Bloor West Village, Greektown, etc. 82 of those creatures in the city of Toronto, representing over 40,000 small businesses. Most importantly, collectively, the businesses within the BIA family contribute 54% of the entire city's industrial and commercial taxes. A major contributor to the city's lifestyle and economic well-being. Before I move into my observations, I just wanted, earlier on, there were some questions about the commercial retail study, the residential component, etc. The URLs are way too long for me to pass out here. So BIA office, you go to the City of Toronto website, go to the BIA office, slide the link over to survey, and you'll get the 2 surveys will pop up if you're interested in doing that. Absolutely encourage you to help us out by filling those surveys out. And if it's not applicable, whether you buy your sporting goods at a major national or a local, just leave it blank. Just leave it blank. If it doesn't apply, that in itself is a telling story to us. The one question we do want to know is where you buy your marijuana from and how long you have to wait to get it. Because that is the trend of Main Street. And that's where I'm going to go with my presentation. I'm not going to get into the built form, etc., other than to say that there are some developers that are truly getting it out there, and we had an example of that earlier. And then there are some that we as BIAs continue to be the living rooms, dining rooms, and kitchens of those people that are living in these high rises. Man, by its broadest definition, is a social animal. We like to interact, and those 500-600 square foot condo units don't lend themselves to that. I happen to own a condo just around the corner, actually, at Bay and College. I don't think I've turned that stove on in the years that I've been out there. We eat out, we eat at the cafes, we interact, we use the public spaces that BIA's built, the fountains, the gathering places that are out there. So not only do we serve the commercial needs, we also serve, as a business community, a significant number of the social needs that the city needs. So the importance of commercial maintaining some of the built forms are significant. The challenge, in addition to this component that I have with some of the new form commercial that's being built out there, is the fact that the hundreds of business people that I've spoken to as we move into the new built form along our Main Street is the fact that they remind me, John, do you remember the early 80s, the recession where a number of businesses didn't make it through? Do you remember the 90s? Most of us that have owned our property and operate our businesses out of our own property were effectively able to pay ourselves from the left pocket to the right pocket. And there is a significant desire by those people that operate businesses out there to be in a bit of control of their own destiny by virtue of owning real estate, owning those commercial properties that they invest into. The new developments don't allow for that. You're a tenant. I've yet to see, and please correct me if I'm wrong, a condominium type commercial situation on the bottom of some of the buildings that are out there where somebody could actually invest and purchase that property and ride out the real estate market as well, because business is a very, very complex situation out there, especially for some of the small businesses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the years of experience that I've had with small business, initially as an executive director of the Western BIA, Western Road and Lawrence, and historians up there will tell you Fort York was built to protect Weston from the American invasion up the Humber River, etc. That's how old it is. The build form up there is significant. Couple of years in what I refer to as the asylum on the second floor. I happened to spend a couple of years as an executive assistant to a couple of counselors at the city. I also spent some time as being a chair of a committee of adjustments in the city of Etobicoke, where I saw some significant planning issues and directions that ended up being shifted around there. And around 2000, or a year or two after current value assessment was brought in, or any derivative thereof, the BIA's Mr. Ling at that time, who ran TABIA, reached out and asked me to come back into the BIA family and help them to help develop the idea of BIAs. As many of you know, 1970s, malls were popping up all around, whether it was Yorkdale or Sherway. A group of business people in the Bloor West Village area, Jane and Bloor, Jane Runnymede, collectively got together and said, listen, if we don't do something about this, we might as well move to the malls ourselves. So they created this piece of legislation. Fortunately, one of the gentlemen there was a municipal lawyer who helped draft that piece of legislation and went through the OMB process, et cetera. Mayor Lamport at that time said if it's good for the City of Toronto, it's good for the province. So the concept of BIAs has gone worldwide. 82 in Toronto, 317 in Ontario, over 500 in Canada, and again, worldwide. It's the ultimate, my opinion, private-public partnership out there, where local businesses levy themselves annually above and beyond all the taxes that they pay, a fee that's to be used to improve the economic and social well-being of their communities. Observations, main streets are significantly changing. Vacancies are no longer occupied by traditional retail, the shoe stores, the dry goods stores. First to move into those locations are restaurants nowadays. You saw a great video just after lunch. A lot of people that are immigrating to this country, their credentials aren't being recognized and they're buying themselves a job. They're effectively opening up businesses in local neighborhoods and building that skill set. We all learned, or at least most of us with white hair, that bell curve that's moving to the right. The second occupiers of traditional floor or sidewalk level Main Street are in fact professionals, doctors, lawyers, even accountants. Folks like me, as we get older, can't climb those 20 stairs to go see our doctor up on the second level, or our dentist. I'm sure that many of you have noticed across the neighborhoods in the City of Toronto, as you walk down the street, there's somebody in there with their hands in somebody's mouth because dental offices were opening up on Main Street. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that in itself doesn't make for a great volta, as the Greeks say, the strolling of our streets, the gathering places that I talked about. It's a broken up concept. We are no longer getting to those gathering places. This whole thing is also compounded by some of the decisions that the governments have made in not encouraging people to come to our main streets. Not as much in the City of Toronto, but rural towns where city halls are moving off of traditional main streets out into the burbs or out into the highway, where they've taken away all those jobs that used to support the local economy out to different districts. Whether they're liquor stores that are relocating from main streets and neighborhoods to areas where you almost have to get into a car to get out there and in order to shop. So again, it's not encouraging people to come onto the main streets and linger. We talk about digitizing, and if any of you are interested, one of the concepts that TABIA has worked on, and we've been quite successful because the province has asked us to expand it province-wide, is Digital Main Street. Digitizing business, you know, it's no longer going to be good enough to be doing your bricks and mortar. You better be moving on to bricks and clicks because you've got to combine those. But as we build out the built form in our neighborhoods and in these new buildings, we got to accommodate for the fact that at 4:30, 5 o'clock, that UPS truck, that FedEx truck needs to come by in order for us to load up and distribute those materials across the way. So from that perspective, but this is not new. I only look back to Weston when on a Thursday or a Friday evening, I would go hand with my mom and we'd need to step off the sidewalk to let the people through as the neighborhoods were busy, congested, the traditional shopping days. Well, if you remember that time, one of the reasons we all used to go down to Main Street because that's where the banks were. On a Thursday, you'd go down and deposit your check, or on a Friday. While you were down there, if you were lucky like me, you got an ice cream as you went shopping and you put up with the shopping experience, etc. And then the banks and the companies out there went to direct deposit. And less people had to go down to Main Street and do their banking. After direct deposits, we got into online banking. Even less people got out there. Now you can do your banking at home. So this digitization, this challenge to Main Street has been developing over the years. Main Streets are resilient. With all due respect to my friend in the taxidermy, the buildings may be repurposed and redone. But what's inside of them is not a hollow plastic shell to build the form. They're live organisms. Small business is what's keeping a lot of these communities active. I can go on about the ecosystem of small business, the importance of supporting them, the whole experience around social media and everything that comes with it. But I do want to leave you with some of these built form challenges. AODA is something, the Accessible Ontarians with Disabilities Act challenges that many businesses have. And we talk about the heritage components. Which act supersedes the other? Is it the AODA or the Heritage Act? Some of these doorways are way too narrow to accommodate the accessibility. Small businesses, small property owners are having challenges figuring that out. It truly does come down to education. And many of you are residents here, and I know my time is up because I've been seeing these forms and happy to chat because I can talk about this thing for a long time. How Main Street goes, so goes the rest of the neighborhood. Don't fool yourself. If you're in a commercial area that's got boarded up windows, graffiti all over the place, the value of your single largest investment, that home that is a block or two away, is impacted by that versus if you have a vibrant neighborhood that is out there, because people do want to live next to vibrancy. We are social animals. So while we advocate shop local, most business people also understand that they need to sell global. So don't punish them for that. Visit your local businesses, visit your local restaurants, and as somebody said, you can't get a haircut online. You may be able to order your dinner on the phone, but you still need to get out there and move from there. And some people would say, I haven't got my haircut since the House of Lords closed last year. So, so that's my protest to this whole thing. And I'm going to challenge another minute. The tax thing that was just presented, we did bring it down to City Hall as a part of BIA week a week and a half ago. I was so afraid that they'd make me take it out because it challenges that. The one thing that's forgotten about this for most business people, approximately half of our tax bill is not from the city, even though the city logo comes on our tax bill. Over a half of our tax bill is actually what's called the provincial business education tax. It's not the city in this particular case, and Toronto is getting the double whammy. Not only are we getting these assessed values based on highest and best use, but we're also 444 municipalities across the province of Ontario, 162 different tax rates for education. Residentially, there is only one. 162 different tax rates on education, and I'll let you guess where you think Toronto's rate is. It's in the top 10 percentile. Until we figure out on how to keep business in business, and that means government and the taxes they're charging us, 10% on your single largest cost, which is your rent, TMI, as was noted, is not sustainable. Not at a time when everything else is going up 2 or 3%, when residential rates are going up 2.6%. How long can we avoid the reality that 10% tax increases on our commercial strips are not sustainable? With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time.